Hi, I'm David. I'm CEO at Whistle.
Hi, I'm Yona. I'm COO at Whistle. We're brothers and we grew a company from 0 to 350 clients in 6 years.
Now, it wasn't always that way, and we did not start with 350 clients. So in this video today, we're going to walk you through the step-by-step of how we took our business from 0 to 350 in a couple of years, as well as some of the lessons that we learned along the way and the pitfalls that we would have loved to avoid if we had the chance to. All right, I want to take you back to just a few years ago. I was working a full-time job, working really long hours, ending my day at about 11 o'clock at night, taking the bus home, getting home at 12, and then starting my side hustle. And that side hustle became Whistle. It didn't start with me throwing in everything and going after building a business from scratch. It started with a question of, hey, can I earn an extra income outside of my job?
And I was working as a sales development representative for a startup, doing phone calls, email, LinkedIn, and at the same time studying full-time my business degree at university. From the inside, I saw just how badly managed sales development is and how to fix it. And that's kind of our discussions. And we thought to ourselves, hey, maybe we can fix this problem.
I'd also run SDR teams in the past. And with this consulting that I was doing on the side of my real job, I was also talking to these companies and saying, hey, how are you addressing this gap, that gap? And I saw that even though it seemed like such an obvious problem to solve and such a big problem to solve, a lot of people just weren't doing the fundamentals to get to where they needed to get to. And the pain was so large that it wasn't just one or two companies. So Yona, do you remember when I called you and I said, hey, they've agreed to a POC. That's the awesome news. We've got to book meetings in. They've agreed they're going to pay us. We're going to make some good money. But here's the catch. If we don't hit 40 meetings booked in the next 2 months, they're going to cancel.
I remember treating that as a why not situation. I thought to myself, you know what? I got a few extra hours after university, after work that I can put in. We had an Excel spreadsheet and that was about it. And we said, okay, let's see if we can book some meetings. I remember also feeling like we don't really know what we're doing and I don't know why this company wants to pay us, but I do know how to book meetings on the phone. So this I can do.
Yeah, and I knew that too. I think that's also very important. When you are building a business, you're going to trade something. If you're fortunate enough that you have money to trade, fantastic. But neither of us did at the time, so we had time. What we lost in watching Netflix, we gained in building a business and in booking meetings. And both of us basically would finish our days, we'd get home, neither of us would go to sleep until we had booked at least one meeting. That was the sacrifice we knew we had to make to get where we wanted to go. Now, the good news is that we did get there. I think it was 42 was the number. And straight away, I contacted one of our friends in Australia and I said, I need you to help me get a video testimonial. It was an Aussie company that we were working for. And he did. It's still on YouTube today. That was client number 1. And we leveraged that to now try find client number 2, 3, and 4 with some social proof. I remember I was reached out to by a company that had offered to hire me as a head of sales. Pretty successful company as well. You know, at the time, that was pretty interesting and exciting. So I had a plan in the back of my head. Let me go for the job interview. And while I'm there, let me see if I can flip it into a pitch. And that's basically what I did. So I went to this company, growing, fast-paced startup, beautiful offices in the middle of Tel Aviv. I sat with the CEO and he started to pitch me. And almost straight away, I flipped the conversation to say, you don't need me, you need my agency. And he said, what's your agency? I said, it's a company called Whistle, and this is what we do. And he started asking me all sorts of questions. How are we going to do it? How do we deliver? How do we price? Where do we get our lists from? Et cetera, et cetera. We had some, story to back it up from what we did with client number 1. And I remember calling Yona and just saying, I went for it. I don't know if this is going to go anywhere, but I did go for it. 2 weeks later, they called and they signed on. But we also realized pretty quickly that we couldn't do everything and we needed a team. Now, SDR talent is a very specific type of talent that you need. You need someone who has a very high work ethic, who's very good with EQ and interpersonal communications, got a very strong sales capability, and who's really able to handle objections and just roll with the punches. So you can't have someone who's too sensitive or life gets in the way of their performance too often. You really need resilient people. Jonna and I are both ex-South Africans. We're both born in South Africa. We grew up in Australia. We now both live in Israel. And we knew that in South Africa, we were going to be able to build a team there, at least for these clients, and hopefully scale from there.
And we did try other avenues before. I remember we went on freelance websites like Upwork and Fiverr and so on, and we just couldn't get good quality people. One of our SDRs almost crashed the whole business. He spoke to a prospect and I don't know, he must have just been having a bad day. He ended up swearing at her. And she luckily contacted us and not the client and said, hey, this is what your prospect told me. And we immediately let him go because we knew that he could have crashed the whole business and ruined our reputation before it even started. That's how finicky the SDR role is. They're your front line. And if they do a bad job of representing you, then they can tank your whole business. And we knew that. We said to ourselves, okay, Upwork didn't work, Fiverr didn't work. We can't trust these guys. What are we going to do? As David said, we're born in South Africa. Our dad actually has a business in South Africa, and we knew the quality of South African talent. So our first hire ended up through, I think, a Facebook post, who coincidentally happened to be a recruiter.
That initial team and the quality control over that team and making sure you really bring on brilliant people. Had we not had that capability very early on, we wouldn't have survived past client number 1 or 2.
Yeah, and I also think had we not understood the South African culture, the mindset, the geography. I think at the time, South Africa was going through moments of blackouts a lot of the day. So we had to make sure that everyone had backup generators and had a way to continue working American hours and be able to offer that 8-hour support in order to actually book meetings.
Another thing we had to think about is the systems to enable that. We had both been very familiar with HubSpot from the different jobs that we had done, and we started to become a HubSpot solutions partner, which we still are today, and we've done a lot of HubSpot setup and enablement for companies all around the world. We knew we had to create a uniform system that the SDRs could work from, that could also allow us to monitor their inputs and their outputs and give our clients that visibility to succeed. We knew we needed to create a system that didn't really allow people to hide behind activity numbers and metrics and was very clear to the client and to ourselves what they were doing every day. Yeah, so it's really important that you do a good job with your first clients because they are the people that will bring you 3, 4, 5 clients. I think the stat out there is something like for every happy client, you can get 6 referrals. And that's what happened to us. I think a lot of early stage founders don't spend enough time telling people that they're actually building a business and asking for referrals. We actually brought some of our friends on board as board members and advisors who were both connected to the network and to ourselves. And the first place that we looked at was the VC ecosystem. And I think if you're running a business and you're looking to get started off the ground, you got to think about what ecosystems you're in. For us, it was tech companies was the majority of the clients that we were working for, and they are all being fed by the VCs. I would go run a workshop for like 8 to 10 portfolio companies would join on like a Zoom, and it would always result in like 2 or 3 following up and saying, hey, can we talk? And we'd close 1 or 2 of those. And that system kept repeating. We then obviously stepped it up. We built a website, basic website, but a good enough one. And we just started leaning more and more into those networking effects. People won't believe how far we got with just referrals coming from happy clients, personal network, and then the extension to referral partners. So I actually think one of the hardest challenges that I had personally came from an issue that came up really out of nowhere. And it was thanks to something that I didn't really value that we were able to survive it. And that is culture. We had a key person on our team who would push me all the time about it. We need to do different types of things together. We need to keep pushing. And we did, as a remote company, it is hard to really create that culture, but we did foster it. There's always banter, there's always jokes. It's still like that today. And we would invest in face-to-face meetups. Jonna and I would fly down to South Africa often to sit with the team and get to know the team. And this was something that we were making deposits in, but I never really understood what value I was getting out of it, short of just, people being happy around me. Until one day, one of our biggest clients, I think they were actually our biggest client at the time, they had a team of about 14 SDRs. And out of nowhere, I woke up one morning and I found out that they had actually decided if they could just skip us and just go to the SDRs themselves and say, hey, why don't we just take you? And the only way that I found that out was because the SDRs reported it. The SDRs were sent each to their private email addresses an offer letter from the company. Thanks to that heads up from the team, we were able to resolve the issue, at least internally, protect ourselves from getting really, really hurt. And it was the first time that I understood that investing in culture is not just a nice thing. It's something that actually takes your business to the next level because your team are already more important than your customers in many ways. They're the team that are going to be with you consistently every single day. Customers will come and go. The team is really what's going to allow you to take your company to the next level. So Yona, given that everything wasn't really smooth, knowing now what you know, could you think of one moment that you go back to, that you learn from, and knowing now what you know you'd love to avoid?
Okay, so I remember when we were on, I think, client number 5, and sitting in a meeting, we were about 3 months into a campaign. The issue that we had was our data quality was just really, really bad. We weren't hitting the right ICP at all. I remember the client coming in and the VP of sales coming in and just shouting at us and swearing. And we had never met this guy before, but he was just swearing at us. While I didn't like his attitude, he did have a point. And I remember the actual issue wasn't the data team, but it was the fact that we never did a quality check on whether or not this client's ICP even existed. And what we found afterwards that the data team kept telling us was that their total addressable market and their ideal customer, there wasn't a large enough volume for them to be doing outbound. And it's one of the first checks that we now see as obvious. Post that meeting with that client, I remember turning to David and saying, we should have known that we couldn't get this client's data before we signed them.
And it feeds itself because when you do take on good clients that you can work with, they stay for longer, they increase their spend, they refer other companies your way, and your collective stress as a team massively decreases because you're not constantly chasing major movements to try and save the client, try to save the campaign. You're already able to just execute on what you do well in order to deliver. So we've talked about how we took this business from 0 to 350 clients and the lessons we've learned along the way, the problems that we faced as well. But it doesn't have to be as hard for you. We've helped all sorts of companies from early stage all the way to very large enterprises that need to grow across the world. We cover all major languages and every time zone. Our team of 150 people are vetted, experienced, and ready to go from day one.
We've generated over $1 billion in pipeline revenue. Our average client sees a 14x ROI.
So if you're looking for a predictable way to grow your business, just whistle.